express our great thanks to Katerina for helping us to organize this and for introducing us to the chapter. We've done a lot of work with your IIBA colleagues and fellow members here in the U.S. and thrilled to be speaking and sharing some time with you tonight. Also wanted to thank Martin and Renee for allowing us to be one of your education sessions this year. So with that, let's dive in and look forward to an interactive session with you. Just a little quick background. Brainstorm Group is going to have its 25th anniversary next year. We'll be 24 this year. A lot of folks know us through BPM Institute, but we also have two other online communities that we host. BA Institute, which focuses on all things business architecture, and our Digital Business Institute, focusing on digital business and digital transformation. Folks basically turn to us for education, training, and certification. And as part of that, we have an extensive number of folks on our faculty that are deep subject matter experts in different areas. Joanne, as I mentioned, leads our thoughts around business analysis and Agile BPM. And so we've got a presentation set up for you. I've got some additional information on our first online training event of the year, which is going to be Brainstorm Amsterdam, kicking off on March 1st. And we've also got a few special offers for the members of the Dutch chapter. So with that, Joanne, I'm going to stop share and turn things over to you.
Great. Thanks, Greg. I'm going to get my screen up here for you guys. All right, you should be seeing Agile BPM. So Agile BPM, I am delighted to talk to you today about how to apply Agile concepts to business process management and to business analysis. Now, since we're going to spend like the next hour together, a little more, a little less, I thought you might want to know a little something about me. I'll expand on the introduction given. So my name is Joanne Carswell. I'm coming to you from a sunny Atlanta, Georgia, where the temperatures, Greg, eat your heart out, are reaching 66 today and bright sunshine. That's Atlanta in the winter time. We never know if we're going to be in the teens or if we're going to be in the 60s. So kind of interesting. But my name is Joanne Carswell. I have a computer science degree. I also have a master's in software engineering. And I have over 15 years experience in IT, the software development lifecycle. That includes Agile and waterfall methodologies in a variety of different roles. I'm currently in my full-time job an IT software engineering manager and frequently a product owner for a data product, which gets me involved in process improvement and process management as well. I am a Six Sigma Green Belt. I'm a certified business analyst professional, a CBAP through IIBA. I'm a certified Scrum product owner for Agile, and I'm a certified Agile coach in ACC. I have presented at multiple conferences, including IIBA's BBC conferences, as well as spoken about BA topics and Agile topics at various organizations. So with that, that's kind of the boring resume kind of thing. So I thought you might want to know a little more. I do love to travel, hoping to get back to that soon, maybe by the end of the year. I play a lot of tennis. I dislike yard work. Hate is too strong a word. I just really don't like yard work. I've tried to make myself like it, especially since I've been working from home for the last 10 months. But I just really can't get into it. I participate now in virtual 5Ks. I don't run. You can't really call what I do competing. I'm just doing it for my own satisfaction. I'm a bike enthusiast. And just to give you an insight into my personality, I completed a 9-class program for data science just for fun. That was through Coursera. It took me about a year to do it. But my favorite hobby is geocaching. Do I have any other geocachers out there? You can hit us up in the chat and tell me if you're a geocacher or just a question mark if you have no idea what I'm talking about. Anybody? Any geocachers? Any?
Not yet.
Okay, well, think of it as a modern day treasure hunt. I'm at 262 finds. So we're going to start with a poll, and we're going to ask you about your experience in Agile, and we're going to ask you about your experience in BPM, improvement or management. Now, which one are we starting with?
How much experience do you have with business improvement or management?
So this would be the second one on the slide. The number 4 would be greater than 3 years. The number 3 would be between 2 and 3 years. 2 would be less than 2 years. And 1 would be no experience.
Please post your answer in the chat.
Yes, please hit us up in chat with your answers so we have an idea. That'll allow me to level set and understand how much explanation on each topic I should go into. Plus, of course, you can always ask as we go.
Majority so far for more than 3 years.
Excellent, excellent. I've got to say, admit it, I actually expected that because we have so many folks with business analysis backgrounds. And whether we're called BPM or not, and I group myself in there, I was a business analyst for my previous company I programmed. And then when I came with my current company 11 years ago, I came in as a business analyst. I wanted to do something different. And I saw that BA role as pivotal between the two. I told people I translated for a living. I translated the developers to the business and the business to the developers. And so I saw that role as pivotal. And so for years, I was a BA. I became a senior BA. And now I'm actually an IT software engineering manager. But I'll always identify as a BA, I think, because I love the details. I love the process. I love how everything comes together. Okay, now we're going to jump into how much experience, the top one on here, how much experience do you have with Agile? 5 is I've been on a Scrum team. 4 is I've collaborated extensively with the Scrum team. 3 is I've worked with the Scrum team occasionally. 2 is I have heard about Scrum teams. And 1 is I have no idea what a Scrum team is. So give us your answers there.
The answers are so far 4 or 5.
4 or 5, that's great.
I would say majority of 5, and some give even 6.
Oh, wow. Some people going off the scale. That's excellent. Excellent. That means you've been on a Scrum team and you reveled in it. You were great at it. Absolutely. Okay, perfect. Perfect. So let's talk about this idea with Agile and BPM. Now we're going to start and we're going to level set everybody with Agile. We're going to level set everybody with BPM. Then we're going to talk about them together and the benefits. And then we're going to go into 5 key concepts in Agile that can help you not only in BPM, improvement and management of processes, but in business analysis and also in your home life. So that's the little teaser for what's to come. Some exciting things about how these concepts can help you. So let's start with what Agile is. So does anyone have any idea when Agile was created? Anyone? Would you be surprised if I told you it was in
90s.
2000 and say it again?
There is an answer in 90s.
Oh, well, would you be surprised if I told you it was 2001? So Agile is 20 years old this year. It was started by a group of developers, and they were working in Utah, and they came up with the Agile Manifesto. And they talked about what they valued and what they needed to deliver software. So, 20 years Agile is an approach. The first thing you take from this is Agile is an approach to delivery of software. It's a methodology to deliver software. It's composed of cycles of discovery, design, development, deployment. Discovery, design, development, deployment. Discovery, design, development, deployment. And this goes on with the inputs from the previous stage being the outputs to the next stage. So Agile, however, was actually created by developers. Now, can anyone think of a potential problem with a methodology that's created by developers for developers?
You can just unmute your microphone and speak up.
Or you can type in chat if you're shy. Can anyone think of a potential issue with a methodology that's written by developers for developers?
That is not focused on business value?
Oh, that's absolutely right. Absolutely. It's not focused on business. In fact, it's only focused on what the developers need. So it doesn't address project management, governance, product management, business structure, change readiness, regulatory concerns. None of those are addressed in the Agile Manifesto or in implementations of Agile. And one of the problems with Agile is many companies can't run just regular Agile now because our enterprises with cross-functional processes are way too complex. So just the regular form of Agile just won't work. In fact, SAFe, Scaled Agile Framework, is a way to get around that. But Agile, so what it is, what it isn't.
If I may ask a question, if you look at the position of, for instance, a product owner in Scrum, then his or her main focus ought to be business value. So I'm not sure why you say that business value doesn't fit into the standard Agile methods.
Oh, I apologize if that's how that came across. So business value does fit in. However, the problem is, and in fact, business value is the one thing that does fit in, because Agile is all about business value and delivering business value. But if you need to do that with regulatory concerns, if you need to do that with any kind of governance, or if you need project management, in fact, they actually have some issues with business analysis. They in many areas feel like business analysis is an extra position. It's not talked about in the Agile Manifesto. So thank you for letting me clarify that. They are all about business value, but they don't think about all these other things that make our enterprise organizations so complex. Any other questions? Okay, so BPM, you can tell we're going through this fast. One slide on what is Agile, what isn't it? One slide on what is BPM. So BPM, we're going to look at this definition. The definition, improvement and management of a firm's end-to-end business processes. So we want to define the processes, we want to improve them, and then we want to manage them in such a way that we have continual improvement. We're going to talk about that coming up. In this end-to-end business processes, so cross-functional, cross-departments, and we want to achieve three outcomes in BPM. One is clarity on strategic direction. One is alignment of the firm's resources, and increased discipline in daily operations. So it is very structured, is very process-oriented. Now, as Gregg mentioned, I've been teaching Agile for several years with Gregg, and Agile Business Analysis, actually. And one of the things that I continue to be asked is, how do we, this is good, but how do we apply Agile directly to BPM? How do we apply it to the the improving and managing business processes, because there seem like there are a lot of values here. But how do we do that? So what you can see is, again, agile concepts, values, and principles are very focused on the business and very focused on bringing value. So, but organizations are finding that BPM initiatives sometimes fail to provide the promised value in a timely manner. In other words, the projects take so long, and by the time they roll out, they're either outdated or only part of the functionality can be used. So in order to be competitive, the idea is you can take the best of the concepts, values, and principles from Agile, and you begin to apply them to BPM, the software development lifecycle, the ceremonies, the concepts, which we'll talk about today, the 5 key concepts, and I'll throw in a bonus one, and then principles and values that Agile is built off of. And the idea is that you will be able to deliver value more frequently, tangible results more frequently to the users of the processes. So, any questions about where we're going? Is everyone kind of seeing this idea of combining these? What do you think? Good idea, bad idea? Or still undetermined? That'd be an okay answer. Hit us up in the chat, or you can talk to us, either one.
Good idea. Under-timed.
I think so. You know, when you look at where BPMs come from, Six Sigma, Lean, re-engineering, and then to get us to more modern BPM, the one thing most of those have in common is that the projects are typically fairly lengthy. They definitely get scaled down more in BPM than they did, for example, in Six Sigma. This idea that by applying the concepts, values, and principles of Agile to BPM, we can actually, in effect, create an Agile BPM delivery life cycle. So, okay, let's talk. So I'm getting ahead of myself here because I get excited when I talk about this stuff. We're going to jump in and we're going to talk about, I think that was Gregg laughing because he knows I get like that. I get like that in the class too. So we're going to talk about minimum viable product. This is your concept 1, and we're going to count them down. MVP. And just like an MVP on a sports team, this is your most important concept, your most important piece of the puzzle. Minimum viable product. It's the absolute least amount of features needed to get a product created or updated to release it. And the whole idea is we want to get quick value out to the customers, and we want to get fast feedback from the customers. Now think about that. Product-based software engineering, Agile, quick value to the customers, fast feedback from the customers. Functional decomposition plays a big part in identifying MVP, which everyone knows is a basis for business analysis and BPM as well. So if you think about it, we can apply this to our real world, MVP, our real world. Has anyone ever been at home relaxing and you find out someone's going to drop by to see you? Someone's going to visit. What's your MVP? What are the things you have to do before that person gets to your door? Just hit us up in the chat. What's your MVP in real life? What are those things you have to do if someone's coming to visit you?
Cleaning.
Yes. Oh, come on, guys. I know you do this. Please tell me I'm not the only one. Right?
Make sure I'm hiding. There is also a possibility. Beer in the fridge.
Yes. Yes. Oh, that's true. Take things off the back of the couch, right? Close the doors to the rooms you don't want to see company. You don't want company to see. Go into your kitchen and maybe, I have a friend who, if she's having company, she puts the dirty dishes in her oven. How do I know this? Because I was at her house one time and I happened to open the oven because I thought it was a cool oven, and there's all these dirty dishes. So that was her MVP, was to get rid of the dirty dishes, but she didn't have time to do anything with them. So this idea that it's the hit list, it's the things we have to have in a product in a competitive marketplace. It has to be features. It has to be those competitive items that keep us competitive or make us the top of our industry. In process or in business analysis, it's prioritizing big wins. It's scaling down the smallest scale you can to deliver value. And it's taking those most critical components and delivering those. Now, the techniques you use for that are your SWOT diagram, strength, weakness, opportunity, threat. You can do a requirements workshop. My CBAP people out there, my IIBA people. You can do brainstorming. You can do all these different techniques, both in process, Agile BPM, as well as Agile software development methodology. And throughout the presentation, I'll make that differentiation so you know when I'm talking about Agile versus Agile BPM. You can also tell, because if I'm talking about Agile software development, I'll say product. And if I'm talking about Agile BPM, I'll say process. Any questions about MVP?
Just checking the chat.
Okay,
Nothing
we roll
there.
on. Concept 2, very, very critical in Agile software development. Work in progress. You'll also hear it called WIP, W-I-P, WIP. And it's always said as WIP, not WIP. Or at least it is in the States. I know sometimes those things are different internationally. And we're talking about the amount of work that is actively being worked on by a specific team. Now, you should attempt to minimize WIP in software development because there's an inefficiency that happens if you have to switch between tasks. Think about, as a software developer, you're switching between code bases, you're switching between applications. Maybe you're building an API versus doing database activities. So there's an inefficiency when you change what you're working on. And it's better to start and finish 2 features than to start 4 and none get delivered to the users. So now if you think about this, it's actually very logical, very, very logical. It's probably the most logical, well, other than customer feedback, it's probably the most logical concept in Agile. It's very hard to drive 2 nails at the same time. Both nails may end up taking longer to get driven than if you drove one and then you drove the other. Now, this act of having to switch between projects or processes or activities is called context switching. And you should really avoid that if you can. And the way that I see this in real life is at home when I have too many projects started. I can't ever get too many projects going in the house. Right now, for instance, my kitchen is, I'm doing all kinds of work in my kitchen. And so we've actually painted the top part of the kitchen. We're going to paint the bottom part, but we have to take off the dreaded wallpaper at the bottom. So now the other things that are going to happen, there's going to be a new floor, there's going to be a new backsplash. But I've decided that I want to finish the walls first, just so that nothing happens to the brand new floor. And then I decided that as I'm doing this, I want the backsplash to be last. I want the whole kitchen to be finished and then do the backsplash. So how much do you start? How much do you have in progress? This is very, very similar to how you would relate this to BPM or business analysis. Scale down the current project. Focus on the specific pieces at a time, completing them, not just starting them. and coordinate the team's efforts based on their skill sets to complete pieces.
Joanne, can we summarize? There's an idea in a chat box or question in a chat box. Keyword seems to be focus and priority. Would you agree?
Absolutely, and that was great. Whoever wrote that in the chat box, you were spot on. By this time, you should be thinking focus, priority, scaled down. All of these are central to Agile software development methodology. And so they would be critical to bring into BPM or business analysis. Now, also, as you're relating work in progress over to BPM, you want to work to protect your team, protect your Agile BPM practitioners. Does anyone know what I mean by protect the team?
Be sure
Anybody?
they are not bothered and they can work without interference.
Absolutely. That's absolutely right. You want to keep them away from the noise, away from the things that could distract them, so that they can focus on delivering value. And that's done in a number of ways, in Agile as well as in Agile BPM.
Joanne, we have 2 comments. One of them is don't let your line manager interfere and protect against too ambitious management.
Absolutely. Hey, and I come to you as an IT software engineering manager, and occasionally I have to disrupt Scrum teams for production support issues. If I think it's an enterprise-wide issue, or if I think it can wait, I know where they are in their Scrum cycle. This is for software development lifecycle, Agile. I'm weighing all those things. And then the same way with my team that's working on operational processes. I have a team that actually stood up this year working on operational processes, and I'm trying to protect them from all those things that other people want them to do now. So yes, it's all about helping that team stay focused.
Joanne, one additional comment from John, and just as addition, to make sure that the projects are as small as possible.
Yes, absolutely. You guys are getting it. Absolutely. The focus, the size of the projects, because you want to deliver value quick. And then when you deliver value quick, you want to be able to get your feedback. When you're doing a process, the same as you're doing as when you're doing software development. So you're improving a process, or you're managing a process. You want to make some changes or evaluate what you have, and then you want to get that feedback from the customers. Perfect. Now, there's a couple of techniques in Agile we use for this that can be used in Agile BPM. Road mapping, velocity tracking, and sprint planning are 3 key ones. And you can use variations of those. We won't get into all the details, but you can use variations of those into Agile BPM or with business analysis. So the third concept, continuous improvement, and this is my favorite picture in the deck, because who else remembers floppy disk? Does anybody else remember floppy disk? Give me a yes in the chat. Oh, come on, I'm not the only
Yes,
one.
there are a lot of yes.
Okay,
yes,
good. Not fiction.
Yes.
This is a true story. I actually had a floppy disk at my mom's house several years ago. It was on top of my mom's computer, and my niece, who was probably 16 at the time, picks it up and goes, "What is this?" Just the same way that storage has changed radically and improved continual improvement. This concept 3, this continuous improvement, that's a great example of how a product has gotten better and better and better and given customers the features they need more. And then for the team, we want the team to get better and better at collaborating, at technical skills, at communication within the team. Now, everyone's heard the little forming, storming, norming, and performing about when you form a group. So you want that team to grow in their ability to work together, and that will make them a successful, agile organization. At home, and I think all of us probably, we're all improving our skills. Most recently, people who are home improvement gurus are going to laugh, but I recently learned to use a miter box to cut molding for my kitchen. And so I was quite proud of that, even though it was a little thing that I know a lot of other people know. But it's all about that continual improvement, continuous improvement. Now,
Joanne.
BPM lends itself well to this because BPM is about continuous improvement, that idea that processes can be managed, designed, redesigned, and improved on over time, that processes are dynamic and ever evolving. Now, I'm going to give you another idea here. As we begin to look at Agile with BPM, we begin to think of those processes as dynamic, but we think of them as being part manual, part automated, software enabled, not software focused. Too many times BPM becomes ruled by the software choices or decisions that are made instead of by the users. So manual automated processes, and this idea that BPM, business process management, processes are software enabled, not software focused. Now, did I get any complaints on that? Usually I'll have one or two things that are a little that either make people go, wow, or make people go, oh, I disagree.
Joanne, we have a number of questions. The first one is, what do you mean by the team?
The team. So that's a great question. So the team, when I'm talking about Agile software development, is the Scrum team. When I'm beginning to put that concept of continuous improvement for the team to Agile BPM, I'm talking about a team of people, either organized or unorganized together, who are working together on a particular project and incorporating Agile into BPM, doing process management or process improvement or business analysis.
Okay, and another point is a continuous improvement for a business analyst or individual next to continuous improvement for the team.
Yes, absolutely. So with a BA, if you think about how as BAs we've had to evolve, we had to evolve into understanding things like Hadoop storage. If you're in the data field, you have to, and databases and big data, and data lakes and data repositories. So all at once in the past 15, 20 years, all this idea of storage has just given us big data. And so business analysts have had to understand that and roll with that. Now it's the cloud. In the last 5, 8 years, it's been the cloud. So we have to understand things about S3 storage and AWS. We have to understand things about EMR clusters and EC2 instances and all of these things that again, the idea being we expand our skill sets constantly. But we also can't neglect that relationship of the people that we're working with, that idea of team. And again, whether you call yourself a Scrum team or not, if you begin to put Agile concepts into your team, you will begin to operate more like an Agile team. What else? Okay, we roll on. So this idea that a process is dynamic, it's evolving, it's part manual, it can be part automated, it is software enabled, not software focused. If you're a BA gathering requirements, you are sorting in things that are in scope, you're sorting things out of scope, you're passing along feedback, you're getting the right stakeholders in the room to make continuous improvement happen. Now, this one is probably the one. Concept 4 is customer feedback process. And this probably requires the least amount of discussion because both BPM, business analysis, all three, and Agile software development all have a major focus on customer feedback. In Agile, the continuous improvement is driven by the customer feedback because remember, we want to build quickly, get something out there, and then we want to get feedback, that MVP. And then the feedback will inform us where we need to go. Feedback isn't always a customer telling you, I like it or I don't like it. Sometimes it's the actions a customer takes. Do they click on a new button? Do they look at a, restaurants? Do they bring a coupon into a restaurant for a deal? Do they mention something they heard on the radio that will give them a deal? So this idea that customer feedback process, again, it integrates with BPM, it integrates with business analysis very, very easily. The kind of techniques we use for this, retrospectives in Agile, developer feedback, lessons learned in Waterfall, and then other techniques, things like surveys, brainstorming, workshops, focus groups, all of those can be used to capture customer feedback. We see a lot of this on the web if you're supporting web-based apps or web-based products, where there are lots of pop-ups that allow you to say, if you like something, my pet peeve, a box that pops up as soon as I land on a site. As soon as I land there, a box pops up and says, how do you like our site? And I always say, don't like it very much right now. So customer feedback process. Now we get to the fifth one, and I've got to admit it's my favorite. The last responsible moment, LRM. The last responsible moment. This is you delay the decision until more is known about the circumstances. Now, if you think about it, one of the criticisms of Waterfall is that we're making lots of decisions up front when we know the least about the circumstances and the project and the functionality and the needs. So this idea to delay decisions, in fact, you delay the commitment until the cost of not making a decision outweighs the cost of making the decision. The last responsible moment. The last responsible moment. Now, sometimes it's hard to tell what the last responsible moment is in software development, Agile. And sometimes people delay because they don't want to make decisions as opposed to reasons. But what this was really intended to do is if a developer has more than one way to implement code, for example, they can hard code something in, or they can set it up as configurable. They may need to have more information to know which of those will be best in the long run. Now, probably a hardcore software engineer in this discussion would say, oh no, you always make it configurable. But it's very, very simple and very, very quick to hard code things in. So that idea that you delay the decision until you know. So hard coding in might be fine if I'm just doing a little proof of concept and I just want to show that this works. But in a productionalized environment for a product that we're supporting, probably need configuration. So this idea that we delay the decision. So give you an example in my kitchen. I keep going back to my kitchen. I'm thinking about it a lot. So in my kitchen, I actually delayed picking out the backsplash until I could pick out the paint. And in fact, I wanted them both at the same time. I wanted to find a paint I liked, and then backsplashes are kind of limited. And you know, they go together like kind of like puzzle pieces. And so they're not super cheap. They're not super costly either, but they're not super cheap. And so I really wanted to make sure everything looked good together. So I found a color I liked, and then I went and looked at backsplashes. I didn't buy the paint. I found a color I liked though. Well, I couldn't find any of the backsplashes that matched. So I went back and picked a different color. And I did this process. It was an iterative, the bonus concept coming up, an iterative process where I kept getting additional feedback from myself. And I eventually ended up picking a color I loved and a backsplash I loved. So this idea that we can delay the decision until we have to make it. Now, what factors do you think in BPM would dictate when you had to make decisions? What are some ideas you have? You're doing process improvement. What factors would dictate which decisions could be delayed and which needed to be made?
Decisions that will cost money?
Yes, absolutely. Resources, right? Absolutely. That's a great one. What else?
Something appearing in the chat box, time-related opportunity in the market.
Absolutely. That's a perfect one, a related opportunity in the market. And that could go either way. That could push you to give yourself a little extra time to evaluate and analyze, or it could tell you, oh my, we are behind. A competitor has a competitive advantage. We no longer are top in our industry. We must react now. So last responsible moment, it doesn't mean always delaying. It means making the decisions at the appropriate time so that your planning's not held up, the team isn't held up, and this is whether it's software development or whether it's BPM or whether it's business analysis. We've all done those business analysis requirements where we need a stakeholder to make a decision. And we go back and forth with it about, well, when are they going to make this decision? When are they going to make this decision? And so in situations like that, you just want to feed them more and more and more information. And then at a certain point, sometimes I know I've had to, with requirements docs, I've had to just say, okay, we have to make a decision on this today because this section is due. I kind of make it the timeline in Waterfall. In Agile, it's the story's going to be worked on. In business process, it's, we want to deliver value now. What are the things what's the MVP in
Joanne,
connection with the LRM?
There are some additional entries in a chat, like René saying decision dealing with high risk, or decisions with multiple impact for more than one business unit or multiple stakeholders. Also, legislation is named, or changes that are difficult to restore.
These are perfect. These are absolutely perfect examples, you guys. Absolutely. Particularly if legislature changes or compliance issues, those can require you to make quick decisions. And again, this is a very misunderstood concept in Agile. Everyone always thinks it means wait and wait and wait, but it's last responsible moment, not last moment. And so I've actually quoted that at people before when I needed decisions, and they've said, oh, well, I've got to make sure, blah, blah, blah. And I said, you're at your last responsible moment. We need a decision. So any other comments in there? Any other questions?
No, Joanne.
Okay, good deal. So I did throw in a bonus concept. So this idea of iterative, and I've kind of alluded to this, and iterative development is simply build, rework, learn, grow, build, etc. And you can see in this little diagram, we start off with one little house in an area, becomes a little nicer houses, the roads get are a little nicer. We start to have some town buildings popping up. Then all at once, we start to get more of a city look to it, all the way up to paved roads and more high rise. So this idea of build, learn. And now this is in direct opposition to what's called incremental development. And by the way, both of these, iterative and incremental, can be applied to business process management as well as to business analysis. So in incremental development, we are adding to. So you see the little farmhouse goes up. Someone's living there now. They build a barn and they plant in one field. They add some livestock. They add another field. Now, I will tell you that my opinion is all development and process improvement or in software development is iterative, because most of the time there's something you have to redo. Even in, for example, even in my kitchen, there's things I've had to redo. I've had to take down wallpaper. I've had to redo molding, and that is considered rework. And rework in Agile is considered necessary and important because you are learning. So again, my opinion, everything is iterative. Now, what hopefully you've seen here is that Agile can be applied successfully to other disciplines, but you have to recognize these issues with Agile and the fact that it was written by developers for developers, and it is a methodology of software development. It doesn't think about much of anything else. And what do you think would be the benefits of applying Agile to BPM or to business analysis? Hit us up in the chat, or you can come off mute. I just know people are typing.
Yeah, nothing yet in the chat box.
That was
Still
good.
wait.
We got the sound effects in the background. That was good.
Yeah, maybe I can just give one option. It's the learning cycle is much more faster.
Absolutely, and that's a good way to put it too. This cycle of learning, and since the emphasis is on learning, it's very freeing to the team members because it doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, I say all the time that perfect is the enemy of good. We will go a long time trying to make something perfect, and in reality, it doesn't have to be. The stakeholders may not, for example, in software development, the stakeholders don't notice a 10 millisecond gain in speed. It would not be worth it to them for us to spend a lot of time to get a 10 millisecond gain in speed. What else? Anybody else? Other benefits of applying Agile to BPM or Agile to business analysis?
We have a comment in the chat to be able to adapt to change quickly.
Yes, absolutely. And let's face it, the world we live in changes so radically, month to month, day to day, week to week. And think about, how businesses have replied to, for example, the pandemic. The way that businesses have replied to that, have told us which businesses will still be in business. So the idea that to stay competitive, you have to respond quickly. There is no other way. That's a great one, absolutely. And that idea too, I'll jump on the soapbox about this one. That whole idea about faster delivery of value to your customers and for a process improvement or process management, your customers are the users of the process, or I submit to you, they are also those who benefit from the process. So if we improve an order cycle for an organization, the members of the departments who are in that cycle are our customers, but so are the customers who will benefit from getting their product on time or early, efficiently, packed well. So absolutely, it's faster delivery of value and more frequent value. It can be more efficient. You can get more consistency because Agile, when you begin to look at the software development lifecycle and how you would turn that into the Agile BPM delivery lifecycle, it's the ceremonies like stand-ups and retrospectives and sprint planning and demos and refinements are all very organized, structured events. And those, when you turn them around and begin to use them in Agile BPM, can show a lot of value to the team members as well as to the organization and the users.
Joanne, there is
any other
additional
comments or questions? Now's the time to ask them, guys.
Yes, there is some additional comment that making mistakes is accepted, no punishment, but it is feedback, and Agile is and should be a state of mind on all levels. A comment, prevent customer surprises.
Absolutely.
Not
so I
what
love
I
both
wanted.
Of those. Prevent customer surprises is great. Sorry.
There's another one. The people in the organization are getting used to adopting changes in the process, but it's not magic happen at one special moment. But it is not magic happening at one special moment.
Yes, and you're right. Agile isn't a silver bullet. It doesn't cure everything. If you have, if you're not competitive and you start using Agile, hopefully it will help you get competitive. But you've got a ways to go. It is a mindset. I love that comment. Agile is a state of mind, and what's interesting is when you begin to think of Agile and being Agile and Agile being a mindset, all at once your thoughts turn Agile. For example, I no longer have to-do lists. Does anyone want to know what I call my to-do list now? Come on,
sure.
Someone knows.
Backlog.
The backlog, yeah, I'll say it all the time. I'll say, on my backlog, we've got to finish the kitchen and we got to do this and this and this. And I just get, the look about that. So, but Agile is a state of mind. I actually have in my back office, I actually have a analysis wall of the different tasks that need to be done to my kitchen and where we are and what's up next and who I need to call. So it's kind of, it is a movement. It is definitely a state of mind. Okay, other comments, other questions? So tell me, have you guys had fun? Have you heard anything today that was an aha moment? Share with me if you've heard anything that was an aha moment, something that made you think, hadn't thought of that before. Wow, that's kind of interesting, or people probably like that. What do you think? Anything?
There's one comment, I think not related to the question you asked. Agile is not a noun, it is an adjective.
Oh, that's a great way to put it. Yes, I totally agree. Totally agree. So what else? Other aha moments, you guys? Share with each other, share with me. Come on, I'm looking for at least 2 or 3 more comments.
I see 2 of them. Last responsible moment was new for me, and it is an official concept.
Yes.
It's new to me as an official concept.
Yes. Last responsible moment, and it is, so many of these are so logical. And as BAs, we know logic. I mean, we live by logic. We are very logical, process-oriented people. And so when you hear something like last responsible moment, you go, well, yes, why weren't they doing that all along? But people weren't. So that's a great one. What else, guys?
There is a question, what do you do when team members are scattered on different projects?
Oh, that's tough because that goes into WIP, work in progress, and limiting context switching. That's really, really hard. Part of the issue is that sometimes there's not thought to be enough work in BPM to keep a BPM practitioner or a BA or someone busy the entire time. And that's where I've found that backlogs can be very helpful to show, well, here's all the tasks we want to do. And so really you shouldn't pull one of our people because we've got all these things to do. We've got all this work lined up and here's our projection of when we'll be done with it. That's applying that whole idea of velocity and sprint planning to Agile BPM. But unfortunately, BAs, they get their time split and Agile BPM people, BPM folks, practitioners get their time split. Unfortunately, there's not a lot you can do about it unless your company begins to buy into this idea that to be more agile in their BPM processes. Because in Agile software development lifecycle, you do not let the Scrum team members work on more than one team.
There is a question to you. Could you give a practical example of last responsible moment? Sure.
I can give you a couple. One is the programming language you're going to use. So, for example, or a database that you're going to use. So we'll get technical into software development for a second. So if I am, let's say I've been running on-prem storage and I'm moving to the cloud, and I know I want to move to the cloud, but I'm not sure what tool to use yet. I would begin to think about how I was going to, what I needed, almost like requirements gathering before I chose the tool. I'm going to wait as long as I can to make sure that I know what all my stakeholders need. Now, when you're thinking about storage on the cloud, just like regular storage, how fast can I retrieve it? How fast can I write to it? If I'm pulling back lots of records, like a search, like if you ever shop someplace like Harry and David's online, and you pull back a search and you get all these different, how fast does that come back? So those type of things, you want to delay your choice until you know enough about the issue or the project or the process or the product to actually make the choice. So I gave the example in software development about the configuration versus hard coding in process management or process improvement. If I'm improving a process, let's take, for example, a restaurant that has become, that has the need to have a more online presence, and they want to add a curbside option and a pickup option to their methods of it's been called methods of delivery because they delivered, but they didn't really have pickup and they didn't really have curbside service. So the person in the actual store or restaurant, person in the restaurant who will actually take the food to the car, I don't have to know that to determine how to build the website or the copy to put on the website, etc. Now, I might need to know, eventually I'll need to know the phone number, right? I'll need to know the email address. I'll need to know how the emails are going to be formatted because it's software enabled. But even it's software enabled, but behind it are these manual processes as well. Does that make sense? That's a couple of different ones. Tell me if you have a different area you want an example in.
Yeah.
can a BA work as a proxy product owner? For some reason, can the BA work as a proxy product owner? Absolutely, without a doubt. One of the things that I think I mentioned at the beginning is Agile business analysis. And in that, we talk about what are the different roles that a BA can play in the organization with Agile. And one of the things that I strongly encourage is to pair a BA up with a product owner, particularly when you first go Agile, because product owners are new. Sometimes they've been, they've been leads in other areas. They've been, in different jobs and responsibilities. And a lot of times, new product owners are missing the analysis skills that BAs have. So BAs can be incredibly helpful in that respect.
Some additional question. Do you think the value stream map technique is valuable in BPM?
I do. I like value stream mapping. So that idea that we can take a process and we can break it down. Now expand that and think manual, software, dynamic process. Take an easy one like I go into Starbucks to get a cup of coffee, or I go through the drive-thru to get a cup of coffee at Starbucks. So what are the events in that value stream that are customer add value, and which are the waiting, the queue times where customers just being forced to wait for no other reason other than there's not enough capacity, there's not enough resources working inside the store, etc. But I like value stream mapping a lot. If you turn it into Agile BPM, though, you have to scope it way down. In big processes, you'd go after smaller parts of it at a time. You'd identify the pieces that needed the most critical work to begin with. You'd work on that. Then you'd go to the next piece.
Okay, do we have any other questions?
Well, I have really enjoyed talking with you guys. It has been a pleasure. I'm going to throw it back over to Greg. And
the last question. Last question, Joanne.
Oh, last question. Okay, yay, I love questions.
Do you think business analysts should invest in facilitation techniques?
Absolutely. We are the mediators in all situations. I'll always call myself a business analyst. We should never pick a side either. We should be able to facilitate, negotiate, communicate through almost any situation and bring the parties together into a common understanding. Not always common agreement. That's important, because BAs who think that they're going to make everybody happy are going to make nobody happy. You have to continue to, there has to be an understanding. You see the same thing in Agile BPM and in Agile software development, where you're trying to come to that MVP. How do you get multiple stakeholders to agree on an MVP when everybody thinks their features are the most important? Well, you show them the whole picture and you tell them we can only get 10 features in. Let's all together pick the 10 features. But that's perfect skills for BAs to have. I also think engineers, software engineers, need more communication classes. In general, I think anybody in IT needs more communication classes, because that ability to turn something technical into something easy to understand, let's face it, we could all use that sometimes.
Thank you, Joanne.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you guys so much. You guys have been awesome. I knew it was going to be a great session. As soon as you guys were getting it after like the going into the second concept. So Greg, I'm going to hand it off to you.
All right, Joanne, thank you so much. And so much as the concepts that Joanne presented today, I think what we have found in the requests we were getting from a lot of our members is that they were experiencing disconnects between their development teams and their process teams. And that is right at the crux of where the Agile BPM curriculum was created. And that's the newest offering that we have, but not the only offering that we have. So BPM Institute and our sister communities have over 40 courses that we offer. Each of the blocks or the squares that you see on here are one-day courses that we deliver via all the most popular delivery methods. A lot of them are available on demand where they're pre-recorded. We do, this year we have 8 online training events scheduled. I'm going to talk about the Amsterdam event in just a second. And then we also do private online courses for a group of 6 or more. The Agile BPM curriculum that we've been talking about today is a 4-course curriculum. And Joanne is our lead instructor on that. And those 4 courses lay out from top to bottom as we cover Agile Methodology for BPM in the first class. Our second class is all about Agile BPM roles and responsibilities. We then go on to teach Agile techniques for BPM. And then we wrap everything up in a Agile BPM in action class, which is actually a very active hands-on workshop for that the 4 courses that make up that curriculum. And folks can also earn an Agile BPM certificate. Of course, BPM Institute has a whole host of process courses, starting with BPM 101, going through modeling and metrics, process modeling with BPMN 2.0 and the full range. Someone had mentioned facilitation as one of the last questions. We have a very popular advanced facilitation skills class that's all tooled towards process and transformation related projects. And so you can view a lot of these things on the catalog, along with our business architecture and digital business offerings. Those individual classes roll up into certificate programs. We now have 11 unique certificate programs and actually have sponsored 2 certification exams in the industry, one for BPM and one for business architecture. And our online training events are something that with COVID and what's happening now, we've transitioned our face-to-face events to be held online. We've expanded that schedule to include 8 events, and they're intended for both individuals and teams. And so at the recent November event, we had 8 or 9 companies that sent between 5 and 25 attendees to take different classes on our online sessions. Those classes will be run over a month's time, 1 class a week, but featuring multiple tracks. And we also have a lot of folks that participate in even the US-based events that are not being held at the most convenient time frame, but because of the unique content and the quality of our instructors, we have folks from all over the world that will tap in. But one of their comments is they would hope that we had more options for folks based in Amsterdam and France and Germany and UK, where we have a lot of followers to the Institute. And so part of our participation today is we wanted to talk about the online event Brainstorm Amsterdam, kicking off on March 1st. There are multiple tracks that are going to be taking place. One will be the Agile BPM courses we've spoken about today. Our BPM core courses will also be featuring our process modeling with BPMN course and our business architecture courses. And here's just a couple of convenient links to give you an overview of the event itself. We've got a brochure out there, and I promised a couple special offers. Here's 2. There is a discount for folks registering before February 1, where you can save $100 per course. And in addition, members of your chapter can save another 15% by using the IIBA NL 15 code that we've created for everybody. We hope that you can join us. As I said, those classes are full-day courses that are being split into half-day delivery. So they'll be taking place on Mondays and Tuesdays throughout March. 1 course per week, 2 half-day sessions from 1400 to 1700 your time. But what really makes the event special is the quality, I think, of our instructors. Each of them are very deep subject matter experts in their areas. Many of them are well-known authors. But each of them brings their own expertise. Andrew Spanny, as many of you may know, is a well-known author in the space. Steve Bicey leads our business architecture efforts. Steve Robert is a certified business process management professional, heads up a lot of our BPM delivery. Shelley Sweet delivers our methodology and facilitation courses, and of course Joanne with our Agile BPM. And by participating in our events, in addition to the event itself, it gives you access to our learning management platform. These sessions are held over Zoom, so they are completely interactive with the instructor and the other students in the class. And then we also give folks digital credentials for passing those classes. We've incorporated open badges as part of our offering this year. And the last treat I have for everybody is at the last two slides. We have something for you for attending today's webcast. So our schedule for the year, we will be hosting the Amsterdam event in March. We'll be back in September with events based in the London time zone, and we've got our rest of our events located here in North America. I've got some contact data here in case folks have any additional questions or want to schedule a call. And then if I could ask, if folks have their cell phones, mobile phones handy, we're going to try something brand new we've done for the first time. This is a digital badge that we'd like to give everybody for attending today's webcast. And so if you take your phone and access your QR reader or your camera, you can take a photo of that QR code, and maybe somebody can validate for me if it's working for you and whether it gave you a badge for today's session. That would be great. Joanne and I are here for any additional questions that folks have, but I want to thank you again for your time today, and we always appreciate working with the IIBA and having the time to spend with spirited practitioners. So thank you so much for bearing with us today, and I hope you enjoyed today's session.
Thank you very much, Greg. Thank you, Joanna. Are there any additional questions to our guests? Is the badge working? Thank you. The QR code works.
It works. Okay.
Yes.
You guys are the first kids on the block to get that badge. First one issued from BPM Institute. First badge of the year.
Thank you. Thank you, Greg. So if there are no other questions, again, I would like to thank you so much for being tonight with us. And thank you. No questions. People saying thank you and no questions.
All right.
Okay.
And Katarina, we also have the PDF we'll make available for folks. Is that right?
Yes, of course we will do. We will put the presentation together with we will put it on our network app.
Okay. All right, great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you all for participating in today's event, and keep the agenda of IIBA Dutch chapter in because we will have new interesting events to come.
Thank you. Katarina, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Have a good evening.
Matthijs is typing in something. Thank you. Many thanks to you both. Still a question from Matthijs. Thank Thank you.
There we go. All right.
Hello.
All right. Hey, great crowd. Very interactive. Lots of questions. That was great.
Okay, that's good to hear. So are you happy about it?
Yeah, I think, anytime, folks have questions and they're interested in the topics, to me, it's time well spent. So thank you so much for helping us to put it together. And hopefully we've created some interest, and we'll see what folks think.
Yes, of course.
Very happy to do it. Thank you again.
No problem. So let me do the stopped recording, because I did the recording.